Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wish I'd collected stamps instead of watching this film.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Collector, which released in 2009, written by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan, and directed by Marcus Dunstan. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Josh Stewart, who plays Arkin. He's a carpenter, decorator type of fellow, and has just been recently told by his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, wife, ex-wife, not entirely sure, that she is into debt with some loan sharks, and so that he has to go out of his way to break into a house to steal a really enormous jewel from their safe. When Arkin breaks into the house, he realizes that somebody else is already there. They've set up traps around the house and are torturing the family. Can Arkin escape, or will he become part of the collection?
Why are you doing it? You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
So this was a film that was shot on a $3 million budget.
Oh,
so
wow.
a fairly low budget independent film that almost, never came to be.
Yeah.
It was originally written as a Saw prequel movie, but the studio, after reading it, went, no, we're not doing Saw prequels, not until we get to the 10th one, at any rate.
Yeah.
And, this also has come from the same two that we've talked about many times, the writers of Saw 4, 5, 6... 7,
Yeah.
7, the 3D one, I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
They did a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also really like these guys going all the way back to one of their earliest films, Feast, and the entire Feast trilogy.
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
I've always had quite a soft spot for these two, except, even though I think their Saw movies are questionable, especially those ones.
Their Feast ones are questionable.
Yeah, but they're good fun, and they challenge your sensibilities when you watch those movies.
The third one is shit.
It is, but it's still good fun, despite it being pretty awful.
Yeah.
And so this film was declined as a Saw movie, and they were still given $3 million, so a low budget to go and make the film.
Yeah.
But when the film was completed, Dimension Films went, we're out of money, like we can't release this. So they ended up selling the film to, I think it was a Little Entertainment, who ended up giving the film a small theatrical run.
Yeah, yeah.
And it actually did okay. It earned 3 times its money back.
Wow.
Which enabled them to eventually make the sequel, The Collection, and unfortunately that film didn't do very well at all.
Yeah.
And the third film, which was in early pre-production, or is now no longer to be. But this was a film that, of course, you couldn't escape the advertising for it, because when Saw was huge, anyone that was closely related to Saw, they were promoted all over the covers and the trailers for other films, from the producers of Saw, from the director of Saw, from the guy who brought coffee to the first assistant on Saw. So, and I was like, okay, this is a home invasion movie made by the people that made Saw. I guess I know what I'm getting in for.
Yeah. What's this? It came out 2009, right?
That's right.
I've done very well to avoid this movie. I thought I was doing very well. I mean, I'd heard about it. People had said to me a couple of times in the past, like, oh, Ian, you like Saw. You'll really like The Collector. And I was just like, really? Have you got it on DVD? And they're like, no. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. I haven't heard about this movie going to cinemas. I haven't heard anybody really talk about it in a positive light, and nobody seems to kind of own it or anything. So what does that say about this movie? And like Gary said, this is by the same guys that did, what did we say, Saw 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're talking the Cop series.
The Hoffman era of movies.
The Hoffman era of movies, because they wanted to keep the continuity going, and they had a focused character that they wanted to expand on. And I know I'm kind of reaching a bit when I say I like the Saw series and I like how the story panned out with that one, but it was a franchise. I'd kind of bought into it and I kind of got on top of it because there were no other horror franchises at that time that I was still following. Most of them had died away, but then all of a sudden The Collector comes along, and like Gary said, it's a home invasion movie about a guy called The Collector who does nasty things to people in their house with traps. And you'd think, oh my God, this is going to be great. It's not. You know, at first, this is the first time I've heard it was only on a $3 million budget. So, damn, boys, you know, you really had your pants pulled down because $3 million is really not a lot.
It's about the same budget, I think, as the first Saw movie. And they shot this in, what, like 19 days? So, you know, they worked hard and fast.
Oh, yeah. And you can kind of see that because looking back now, I realized that things were rushed. Certain things weren't really planned out. I mean, if we're going to, in a way, compare it to Saw 1, Saw 1 was just one room with two actors and then kind of expanded around a little bit around that story to give it a bit more filling. This is...
Mostly takes place in that one mansion.
A mansion!
Yeah.
A mansion! So that's multiple rooms.
It's still one location.
Yes, yeah, it's still one location, but it's spread out to the point that it really becomes farcical and unbelievable. And I'm going to start with Arkin, played by Josh Stewart. What was wrong with his eyes?
That man's overworked.
Is he?
Yeah.
He looked drunk.
And high.
And high.
And overworked.
And overworked. And I'm looking at this guy's eyes and I'm like, man, this isn't a good start if your main lead looks like he's on something.
I think it's part of his character. I think he is overworked, and I think he's doing his whatever jobs he can to help pay back his wife or his ex-wife's debts. You know, because we find that he's a very loving father who wants to spend more time with his daughter, ends up spending more time with the house that he's working at's daughter.
Yeah. Let's just establish this right now, okay? There's a lot of things you're going to question in this movie, and if you can make it up yourself and be okay with whatever idea you come up with because the film doesn't give it to you, that doesn't necessarily make the movie good. You know, that's just you in a way justifying what you enjoyed to try to enjoy what you sat through. And so to say that, you know, because of the main actor's eyes, he's looking overworked, he might be working multiple hours, we don't know. We literally watched this guy working in one house, this huge mansion. We don't even know what he really does.
He fixes windows and doors.
Right, so he's a carpenter?
I don't know, but we find out that he's done jail time and that he was a thief.
Oh yeah. Don't.
And there's some hints to that when he is working in the house and he sees the jeweler, you know, a business card.
We kind of skipped the kind of beginning bit where you get this man and this woman come home. They look like they've just come back from a party. They look like they've had a couple of drinks. I'm not entirely sure. They're not really established very well. But the wife turns to her husband Larry and she's like, "I'm going up the stairs. Don't be long." And he's like, "I won't." And then he realizes there's no power in the house, which is obviously your first sign that you should get the fuck out, you know. But no.
His wife's upstairs, screaming.
His wife's upstairs screaming. So he rushes upstairs and she's like, "What's this red, you know, luggage case doing here?" And he's like, "I don't know." And so he unlocks it. And what he sees inside freaks him out so much that an unknown figure grabs him from behind. And then the movie starts with its credits. And the music was absolutely horrible.
I don't know if you can call that music. I call that offensive, irritating noise.
Right.
It sounds like a tornado in a drum store.
Now, before you go, "Oh, these guys are too old to understand what music is." Remember, this is 2009 when this movie was made. So we would have been younger when we would have watched it. The music was still bad. And I was sat there watching this open sequence and I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing interest. And it's not even got past the beginning credits because I have nothing to go by. You haven't established the killer or what he does, the collector or who he is, blah, blah, with the first two people that I've just seen at the beginning. I mean, Jesus Christ, even friggin' Halloween solidifies Michael Myers at the beginning by watching him kill his sister and then seeing him at the beginning. This, I saw nothing. I could have been his wife grabbing him from behind, you know? But then we get to Arkin, and like we said, he speaks to Michael Riley Burke, who plays Michael Chase, the dad. Now, Michael Chase is so badly established at the beginning, I actually thought he was Arkin's foreman. Now, technically he is, because if he owns the house and he's dictating the jobs to Arkin, he's the employer. But the film doesn't tell me that. He just kind of tells Arkin, oh, I need you to go upstairs and I need you to do this, and have you done that today? And I'm like, who's this guy? Oh, the dad must be turning up in a minute. And then Arkin goes up the stairs and meets up with the little girl, Michael's daughter, who says, oh, will you come and, have a tea party with me? And Arkin's like, oh yeah, I'll just forget everything my boss has just told me to do and just wander into this girl's bedroom. Have they already established a relationship? How long has he been working with this family? They must be on friendly terms if the little girl is happy for him to just come into her bedroom, unsupervised and have a tea party. But it's okay, because Arkin has a daughter. So that will come up later on in the film, people, that he will actually look at this little girl and go, I feel kind of something for you because I relate. But the dad comes in and goes, Arkin, what are you doing here? Haven't you got jobs to do? And Arkin's like, oh, I'm really sorry. And he goes off and starts having some weird fantasy about the mum. Like, was the mum there, or was that a fantasy of something that he'd seen earlier on?
Not sure. I think she was just, in the room, just Botoxing away,
I should totally
Bit of an overdose, I think, of Botox, actually. Like, God damn.
I should totally have a notepad and mark down every time you go, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it really matters. I don't think it was not a fantasy or anything.
No, it does, because he's there, he's messing with the door, and he looks over, and I'm like, I wasn't too sure. The film didn't establish well if he was looking at her while she was Botoxing, or if he had already seen it and he was fantasizing about her.
I don't think so in any way. I got a sense that he was casing the house, for a safe or for something expensive. Or...
No. Right. Okay. So you think he's casing the house, but there was no point at this point of the movie
that he would want
to.
Because it was his old profession. It's old habits, So
that's a bit harsh, man. Tarnish the brush or somebody. But Arkin then obviously goes outside and he goes to have a cigarette, and then the eldest daughter comes along. And Arkin discusses with the eldest daughter about how he can't share a cigarette with her because he'll get in trouble. And she's like, oh, and wanders off. But then he notices a hornet's nest. And he goes to the guys that are exterminating and he says, look, there's a kind of spider's hornet's nest at the back of the house. You might want to take care of that. And we get a thumbs up by a guy.
A guy.
And then Arkin goes off with his money. Now, it was funny because the dad had said to him, I put a little bit extra in there for all your hard work. But then when Arkin gets to his wife, ex-wife, girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, we're not entirely sure. The movie doesn't tell us. She's just his female partner. Mother of his daughter. Was she even the mother of his daughter?
I imagine so.
Like, imagine so. Okay. So the daughter's got to be about 12, 13?
Maybe.
Maybe 11, 12. So he's got this daughter who he sees, he doesn't see. We're not entirely sure because Josh Stewart, I don't mean anything harsh towards you, but you're not a very good actor. And you're not so good to the point that I felt like you and this actress who was playing your young daughter, you hadn't seen each other for a while. So I'm assuming that she might have been born just after he'd gone to prison. And then he might have been in prison for that time. And now he's come out and now he's trying to get his life back around. I'm assuming, because the movie doesn't tell us this, because he finds it awkward, doesn't he? He gives his daughter this teddy bear. He's already asked Hannah Chase, like, what he should buy a little girl, to if he wants to make her happy. And she tells him about the teddy bear. So he buys this teddy bear for his daughter, which makes Mum uncomfortable.
Well,
like he might have stolen it.
No, it's, true. He might have stolen it because, being a past thief. And also because she needs the money to pay back her loan sharks. And so any money that was spent on luxuries, she would have rather have had that to pay off her debt. So I think that's why she was annoyed.
This whole subplot was fucking stupid. It was absolutely stupid.
Well, we need a reason for Arkin to go back to the house. We need a reason.
We didn't need this reason. he sits and talks to the gang boss after this,
Yeah.
and the gang boss explains to him that the gang boss chooses the jobs and Arkin goes in. But now Arkin's bringing the job to the gang boss about breaking in for the stone. You could have just had that.
No, we needed to see him with his daughter to establish this bond or this bond that doesn't exist,
Right,
or
right.
where he wants it to with his daughter,
Yeah.
so that
Him and his daughter.
empathy can come out later.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's a bit of a setup.
Him and his daughter, yes.
Yeah.
The wife stuff, didn't need it.
Well, we still need the reason for him needing the money.
The gang boss would have told him, you owe
Yeah.
me money. I took care of your daughter while you were in jail. You owe me. I need you to break into this house. Or, no, Arkin, haven't you got any ideas? Oh, by the way, I've been working for this house who might be a jeweler or something. Right, you need to break in there. Done. You didn't need to establish this female character who, as we said, we don't know if it's his wife, ex-wife, girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend. They don't establish anything. We don't know how much she's borrowed, how long they've borrowed it for. We don't know what the gang boss is going to do. It's a plot thread to fill the film. Yeah? Because the film is only an hour and a half long, which I was very surprised. I was actually looking forward to it. I was like, wow, a really short horror movie. This will just bang out. And it seemed to go on for like 3 days. Because as I said, we still haven't really established the title character, the Collector. Nobody in this town or city that they're in, this no-name place, yeah, seems to know anything about this guy. The police aren't looking for him. There's no news reports on this guy. Nobody's really scared. Nothing. So I have no idea how long the Collector, who I'm actually come to the fucking film to watch, I don't know how long he's been going around doing the stuff that he's been doing, because nobody's talking about him. All I know is that Arkin needs to get some money to pay for his wife's loan shark debts.
Yeah. For me, the Collector is kind of like an urban legend. He's just another boogeyman, really. And so yeah, it's like okay, he's not as popular as like the Jigsaw Killer or anything.
No, but you'd think that if these strange deaths in people's houses had been happening, there'd be a report going on.
There probably is missing people,
Bro.
But no one's tied it down to a serial killer yet.
You would. If, say he'd done it like...
Not in the Saw universe, anyway. I've seen those police.
Oh, yeah. Their police force is corrupt as hell. I mean, this could be set in the same city as Saw.
Probably.
We don't even know what city Saw's in. But what I'm saying is that even if he'd done this, say, 4 times... and Larry and his wife was number 4, and the house that we're going to is number 5. Those first 3, at least, the police would be putting out an investigation. Houses have been burned down. Families are missing. Because, spoilers, the Collector goes into people's houses, takes out the entire family, and is supposedly collecting one person. Yeah? And we know this because we are told it by one of his victims. And I sat there going, how the fuck do you know that? How?
No. He only kills people that he doesn't want. The rest he takes. Then why are you here? On the beat.
Because he probably spent some time with the Collector in the box and kind of saw out a gap and just like, oh, that's what he's doing. I don't know. We don't know. It's a mystery.
No, it's not a mystery. It's badly written. A mystery gives you the plots towards the end going, aha, this is what you missed. And you go, oh, right, oh, okay, that fills in the gaps. No. The Collector goes, we didn't write it. We needed to get this character to house. Because Arkin, like I said, gets the idea from his gang boss to go and break into this house. And so he drives there. He's got until midnight, right?
That's right, yeah.
And he gets to the house at what time?
Close to 11, I think.
Right,
So it's about an hour to do this job.
Got an hour to get in there. And
In and out.
Yeah. And so he breaks in. This house is in the middle of nowhere. They've got no neighbours. I don't know where the nearest road is that kind of gets to their house. It's so badly established. But Arkin breaks into the house and starts making his way around. And what I thought was pretty good at the start of him breaking into the house was, say, the cinematography of the lighting,
Oh, yeah.
the shadows, because I'm waiting for this goddamn collector to jump out from anywhere. I'm fucking sick and tired of watching The Adventures of Arkin.
I was with him. Yeah, I was watching him. I actually quite liked the moment where he steps on I think it's the third step and it creaks, and he's just like, oh, there's no one in the house. The family have gone on holiday, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
Goes in and he's cracking the safe, and then he hears a noise and he ends up going down the stairs, and it's just a little thing where he just steps over the step that creaks.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
continues to avoid that throughout the rest of the film. I was like, it shows that he's quite smart.
Right. So when he's walking up and down those steps, there's no nails on those steps.
This is correct, yeah.
So the collector ends up putting the nails back on the steps.
Maybe the house has got two
Dude,
steps.
don't you.
It's a big house.
You're
Houses that big have more than one staircase.
You're a big house. You're a big house.
The collector's magic. I mean, we don't know that. He could be working for a Cthulhu monster, and that's where he's taking his collection to.
You're reaching.
I'm reaching. I know.
You're trying to just.
I mean, the film doesn't give us an explanation, so I have to come up with one. I know the sequel does, but I'm just taking the standalone movie right now.
The film gives us nothing, to the point where Arkin is surprised when Michael Chase, the dad, kind of stumbles. I couldn't tell if he stumbled out of the fucking
wardrobe or the...
Yeah, was it a wardrobe? Was it the chimney loft? Where did he fall out of? But he fell out of something, and then he's looking at Arkin, and Arkin's like, shh, don't say anything, because Michael's all bloodied up and tortured and stuff. And I'm like, all right, so Dad's already been captured. Mum's already been captured.
Or maybe Dad hasn't been captured. He's just wandering around the house trying to survive these death traps. And then he gets, he goes for a golf club, then gets hit with another trap, and then gets scooted out of the room, dangles upside down. Well, then he falls, hits the banister and hits the ground, and then the collector has him.
So it establishes that the collector, played by Juan Fernández, who I really liked as Miguel from Crocodile Dundee 2.
Sure.
And he was also in Arachnophobia. He was one of the guys who helps capture the spiders at the beginning.
Okay.
Great actor. Wasted in this because they slapped a mask on him and made him look like Riddick's thinner brother because of the eye shine that they give him. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't... The most this guy does is puts traps all around the house. Now, it's like at one point, Arkin goes to jump out of the window and he sees that the windows have all been boarded up.
Well, yeah, just before that, he grabs the phone, doesn't he? Because he goes to call the police and he gets the pin in his ear, which I thought was, damn, it makes me wince.
Yeah. So the collector took the phone, and those phones are old.
It's an old rotary phone, isn't it?
This is 2009, bro.
Hey man, that house needed some work.
He's unscrewed it, put a nail through the bit, and then screwed it back on again, and then hung it up and going, just in case anybody goes to ring the police before they go to escape my house of death.
Well, they can't escape because he's now bolted all the doors.
Yeah, and
so I'm like, well, how did Arkin get in the house with all these bolts on all the doors?
Hell yes! How? Because he did
but then
like
again,
6
maybe because the collector...
If you say another fucking door...
It's a big house. There's probably a front door, there's probably a back door, and there may even be a side door. I don't know, but we do know that not all the family are accounted for in the house, so just maybe the collector left the door open for the eldest daughter to come home.
That he knew was coming home.
But then again, she thinks that the locks have been changed anyway because she's locked out. So there may be a plot hole. But that didn't matter to me because I was too fascinated by his hands caught in the wooden boards of the window with the razors there cutting his flesh from his fingers. And I was like, man, that looks nasty. How the hell are you going to get out of that?
I forget. Were the boards on the outside of the house or the inside?
I think they were on the outside.
So the collector has gone around while Arkin has been dealing with his wife and his daughter at the bowling alley, wherever, and he's nailed all these wooden planks on the outside of the house, on the ground floor, and the first floor.
Yep.
Yeah, with the razor blades on it.
Yep.
He's then obviously put the locks in on the door, and he hasn't put the nails on the steps yet because he wasn't too sure. He's getting to that, and it was just so stupid. Like I know Saw is stupid, but I had like 4 movies. Like, it was stupid after number 2. I get it. A lot of people quit by number 2, but I was like, I don't care. This is fun. You know, just same as some people would see that this movie is fun. But at least Saw 2 and 3 had the wraparound of Tobin Bell. They had the explanation of what the cops were investigating through him. We don't have that with this collector character. It could be anybody. I mean, you could have actually spent the whole movie not even showing a single shot of anything above his waist. You could have just followed feet around. That's how little we had of this killer character. But Arkin, yeah, he gets a thing in his ear and he's like, oh, that hurt. And he goes to put his hands out the window and he's like, oh, that hurt. You get that nice kind of overhead shot where he hides in the cupboard and the collector's on the outside.
That's right.
And then he walks around and Arkin kind of scuttles out. And so you're
I love the cat and mouse stuff. And yeah, I think that camera angle is pretty good. It's pretty effective. Yeah.
But this is just also shows how kind of stupid and not very experienced the collector is that if a simple cat burglar can evade him in his own house of traps.
Yeah, well, he's a burglar. I'd imagine he would be quite nimble, light on his feet, and very observant.
Bro, I get it, and I'm really trying to.
But then again, maybe not so much so because he did end up in jail.
The collector has been. We don't know how long he's been doing this for, but he looks like he's got a thing down. Like you said, he'd set most of the traps to catch people coming in, but he's fucking missing Arkin like nobody's business. Arkin is able to dodge so much. There's the dude, the fucking floor of acid gunk.
What the hell was that? Was it like Dip from Roger Rabbit?
What the fuck was that?
It's not very good to cats either.
No, not very good to shoes.
No, or books.
He steps in this room and this stuff's all over the floor and it starts eating his shoes and he realises it's glued his feet in place, so he's got to undo his shoelaces and to jump out of the way. And the collector at this point keeps going down into the basement to torture mum and dad to keep coming back upstairs to find out what the noise is, to keep going back downstairs. I'm like, for God's sake, man, you are so... I mean, Jesus Christ, the killer and I still know what you did last summer. At least he knew what the hell he was doing. You do not know what you're doing. It's like the directors is like, well, we need to keep the focus on Arkin. The movie's called The Collector. We should have the focus on the collector. What he's doing, why he's doing it, what the next point is. No, wanders down into the basement, comes back up again. You know, he's searching for whoever's making noise in the room. Arkin is taking his shoes off. He's chucking books on the floor. He's trying to avoid the acid, which the cat is kind of screaming and melting in and stuff. He then kind of picks the cat up to kind of let him out, or to get him out of the gunk, and sees the open window. And the cat goes for the open window and gets taken out by a guillotine.
Damn. I gotta say, that cat gave a pretty good performance, though.
Pretty good. It did.
But damn movie, you don't score many points when you kill a cat in your movie.
No, because the collector comes in and sees the stuff on the floor and sees the cats being killed.
And he goes, oh, the cat must have caused all this mess.
Exactly.
Can't be another home intruder. I'm the only one.
I'm the only one. I'm not going to put the house into lockdown. The little girl, Hannah Chase, she's hiding at the moment.
We find that out, don't we, from the dad, who explains to Arkin, like, there's a gun in my safe and the bullets are in the drawer, so go and kill this son of a bitch. Yeah. He goes to the safe, and he gets the code for the safe, so he doesn't need to crack it anymore. And he gets the diamond. He's like, yeah, I got the stone.
Yeah, good.
And he gets the gun, and the collector collected those bullets.
Oh, wow.
So that's useless.
Yeah.
But now at least we know that the little girl is somewhere in the house.
Yeah. And so Arkin as well, he comes across the dad. The dad has been tortured and like chopped in half, like really.
Well, he gets disemboweled.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So the dad is dead.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the gore in the film?
The problem is gore is really easy to do, and if you haven't got much of a budget, that's where most of your budget is going to go, because that it was all right, I suppose, but my problem with it is that so many better horror movies can do more with less.
Yeah.
Halloween.
But this is from the Saw makers, so it's all about carnage in your face at this point.
Well, at that point, yeah, when they were doing the series. But as we said, if we're comparing it to, say, Saw 1, yeah, Saw 1 was able to do so much with so little. Like, the impactful moments of the gore that they had in those movies really made you go, ooh, wince, and make you remember the movie. This, I saw the dad disemboweled, and I was like, okay, so what was the point in that? You know, is it just you just trying to shock the audience by going, hey, look, here's some gore, you haven't seen anything?
But it definitely shocks the wife.
Oh yeah, definitely shocks the wife.
The reason why I asked is because the one of the special effects creators for the film is another old familiar of ours on the channel.
Yeah,
it was Gary J. Tunicliffe.
Oh,
this is the guy who worked on Hellraiser 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and directed Hellraiser Judgment. I knew there was a reason why you wouldn't like this movie.
I could have gone without you telling me that.
I actually thought that the gore, at least it was all practical.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty well done. Now, I'd say what we will about Gary Tunicliffe's directorial efforts, but his special effects work, I think, is usually pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that away from this movie. The practical effects were really well done, and they needed that. They needed to establish this movie because they wanted to go off. These guys that wrote it and directed it wanted to go off on their own, wanted to do their own thing. So they're like, look, we've got this idea, let's establish it, let's put it out there, let's get the audience in. And then, like as we said, we're not really going into Collector 2, but they just basically went, oh, well, we made gore in the first one, let's go over the top way. I mean, yeah, like we said, the cat getting sliced up with the guillotine was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then the dad's disemboweling. And Arkin comes across the mum and wants to try to help rescue her. But obviously she's been being tortured and whatnot by a faceless guy.
There was a cool scene I liked earlier where he found the mum earlier.
Yeah.
And kept her quiet. And he was like, look, I need to get back upstairs.
Yeah.
So I need you to make a distraction for me. I need you to scream.
Yeah.
And so she does the screaming and managed to get back up the stairs.
Yeah.
And the collector, I mean, this film has been put in the torture porn, category, came out around all the Saw movies. It's really not. But I mean, there's some torturous scenes in it, but it's usually just people falling into a trap and dying instantly. It's not like they've got minutes to figure it out.
No,
They're just dead.
Yeah.
But there is a torture sequence where he does come down and he attempts to pull her tongue out and threatens to cut it off.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's,
But he doesn't.
He doesn't. He just warns her, really.
He warns her, really. But there is a part where Arkin does actually, rescue the mum.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get her out of the house. And she absolutely freaks out after seeing the husband's dead body.
Yeah.
And she races up the stairs to get out of the basement. And as she opens the door, the collector's there. And he just stabs her multiple times in the gut. Which I was like, what was the point then? Like, you're breaking into these people's houses to torture them for your own reasons so that you can collect one person. Because at the same time, Arkin has come across the luggage case that we'd seen at the beginning of the movie and opened it up, and inside is Larry from the beginning of the movie. And Larry is the one who kind of just gives us the whole exposition and explanation about the collector. I'm like, how the fuck did you know this, Larry? Like, as I said, I'd get it if there had been, like, while they were at the bowling alley and he'd been speaking to his daughter, if there had been like a news report in the background, that the police have found another family that had been murdered, or maybe the gang boss had said, like, to Arkin, oh, you're going to this house that late? Yeah, oh, well, really hope the collector doesn't get there. Trying to establish something, because nobody knows anything. Nobody knows nothing other than Larry. And if Larry hadn't told us that this masked person is the collector and kills people and collects one person, you could have just put a question mark on the front of the fucking DVD case in the poster. You would have. A nameless killer.
The film was originally called The Midnight Man. So, yeah.
Can't beat The Midnight Meat Train. That's still a... The Midnight Meat Train's a better movie than this.
I agree.
Yeah. Arkin and Larry's there. He's chained, isn't he? He's got a change for his ankles.
That's right, yeah. So he ain't going nowhere. So he stuffs him back in the box.
Yeah, he stuffs him back in the box. And I'm like, I don't see, the collector, Juan Fernández, with his frame, carrying that box. No fucking way.
Well, maybe he did it with great effort, with lots of panting and grunting as he edged it up the stairs one step at a time.
It would have taken like 2 hours to get it from the van.
I want the whole movie of the collector turning up at the house and setting up all the traps in time.
Yes! I would have enjoyed an hour.
I want to be a fly on the wall.
An hour and 15 minutes of just watching him go through the explanation of putting everything up.
But then Mum ends up being tortured again. She's getting her mouth sewn shut.
Oh, yeah.
The collector's making an audio recording of it all.
Yeah.
And this time Arkin's like, "Yo, screw this, I'm out of here." I mean, he escapes the house.
He does.
I'm like, wow, he's out. He's out.
He actually gets out. And I'm like, he's gone. Fuck him, Arkin. You've got your stone.
Yeah.
Go save your wife. Because that's the point. I'm sat there like, he has to get home to his wife. You've established this plot point as a threat. He has to save his wife. But then he gets there and he's like, he looks back. Oh, look, it's the little girl from the beginning of the movie. And do you remember how he feels about his daughter and he can't leave her in the house for that maniac? I get it. I'm not going to leave a fucking child to a homicidal maniac. But you honestly could have, like I said, 2009? Did we have mobile phones in 2009?
Yeah.
Right. So why didn't he use his goddamn mobile phone to ring the police?
Probably had to sell it to give his ex-wife more money. Pay off her loan sharks. I don't know.
I knew you were going to fucking say that.
But what I do know is that it would be very much in keeping with Arkin's character to be like, you know what, I'm out. And the filmmakers had a wry sense of humour about it because they filmed a purposeful alternate ending.
Really?
Where Arkin sees the girl banging on the window and he goes... and runs away.
I'd have loved that. I'd have loved that ending.
I was like, well, it would have cut the film a bit short, and it would have been more realistic because 9 times out of 10, you put somebody in that position, they ain't going back in there. Like, sorry, little girl.
Yeah, but Arkin sees that the collector is downstairs, and the collector's heard the noises
and
upstairs.
He's a hero. And he goes back in.
Goes, I'm going to go back in. And the eldest daughters come back. I really couldn't believe this.
You just need obligatory boobs in your horror movie. So here we go with a...
Well, the movie had already established that Arkin had gone into one of the rooms on the ground floor and there was like 12 to 15 bear traps in there. Bear traps. Big fucking rusted metal ones. And I at this point, I just lost all hope to live with this movie because...
I didn't. I was like, oh, who's going to get that?
Like I said...
I thought the collector at first.
I hate to harken back to Saw, but we understand that Tobin Bell, Jigsaw, was into manufacturing these traps. He's a designer. He sits there, he draws them up, he plans it all out, how they're going to escape, all of that. Not the collector. The collector goes, where am I going to get 15 bear traps from? Lug them into the house after I've lugged that fucking case up the stairs and put all the boards on the windows and I put the acid in the other room. I'm going to put bear traps on this floor just in case somebody was to walk in there and get ripped up to pieces. And then, like Gary said, the daughters come into the house with her boyfriend. Now, they were listening to Bela Lugosi's Dead in the car. And then the film decided that, hey, we can't really afford any more music, so we're just going to play the same song as they walk into the house to set the mood. It was stupid. Like, I would have got it if, like, she'd been listening to it on her phone or something, or the collectors turn a radio on after he's seen them in the car coming into the house. Anything. No. Just the movie going, we already had the music playing, so we're going to play it again. So they're in the kitchen. The boyfriend's getting sexual. The daughter top is ripped open, and then Arkin's watching them at this point, but so is the collector.
Yeah.
And the oldest daughter looks up and she sees the collector, and her and her boyfriend freak out, and the collector doesn't really seem threatening or anything. But he starts making his way to him, and the boyfriend and the collector fight, and the boyfriend gets thrown into the room of bear trap.
He throws a punch, doesn't he? He gets the knife through the hand.
Oh,
Then he gets the machete, cuts his fingers off, then he falls into the bear trap. Like, man, this dude, he was about to get lucky, and then he got real unlucky.
He got real unlucky.
They ain't reverse bear traps.
No, they chomp down. He loses his foot, loses his arm, loses the side of his head.
We've seen bear traps in movies fine, but we've never seen somebody fall into a fucking room full of them. So I was like, that was great. I love that.
Like, I wanted to laugh because I just thought it was so stupid. But
I laughed at the next kill.
But this is like almost an hour into the movie.
We'll pass the hour mark.
I said this to Gary. I turned it off after an hour and I went away because I was so sick and tired of the movie. And then I had to come back and finish off the last half hour for you guys. I almost did not. I almost didn't. But yeah, the oldest daughter, she gets freaked out by Arkin and he tries to rescue her. And at this point, I'm like, Arkin, stop rescuing people. You've killed the dad. You've killed the mum.
He's not killed anybody. He's tried to help them.
He tried. And
I think he tries more than like the guy from Saw 4.
And she's freaked out. Now, who rang the police? I was trying to work out. Did she?
The daughter
did.
Yeah, she rang. Yeah.
She rang the police and said that there was an intruder. So we know that the police.
No, she didn't get to say anything. The phone was just dropped.
Oh yeah. And Arkin, she thinks Arkin is the killer, because she hasn't really seen him up to this point, and she reaches for some scissors. Now the scissors had already been established earlier on in the movie, but Arkin had left them, and then he sees her reaching for them, and he's like, "No, don't!" And she grabs them and pulls them, and is she catapulted?
Yeah, somehow.
The nail wall?
Yeah. I don't quite know how it worked. All I know is that I laughed.
Yeah.
Because she went flying.
She went flying, and then she's just stuck on this kind of
projector
screen with loads
up against
of
the
nails
wall.
for it.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty gruesome, like one going right through her eye and out her nose.
Yeah.
And,
Like we said,
gore, good.
practical effects, really well done. But also, any horror movie that has to re-show you the kills during the film is really just padding out.
What do you mean?
Well, because like Arkin and the Collector end up fighting at some point because he tries to rescue the little girl.
Yeah,
and then,
they have the whole chase down the laundry chute and then back up the laundry chute.
He runs into the room with the fish hooks and he gets like one in his eye, but he avoids the rest because he's Arkin, survival hunter. And he gets knocked out by the Collector, doesn't he?
After pulling his mask off.
That's right, yes. We don't see the face. He pulls the mask off and he's a bit shocked and then he gets punched in the face. But then the movie actually goes through, like we see the dad's dead body.
Yeah.
We see the mum's dead body. We see the oldest daughter's dead body, and I'm like, why are you re-showing me this? What?
We need a montage to show that time is passing and just a reminder that everyone is dead.
Okay, because I didn't think it worked.
But then
it was just filler.
We find Arkin, he's now been chained up. And he also then spots Hannah hiding in the hiding spot that he was in earlier in the film.
Yep.
And he manages to break free of his restraints.
Well, yeah, the Collector is obviously trying to torture him at some point, and he keeps calling him back, calling him a pussy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool in Arkin's character arc to just take it upon himself to distract the killer and give him all this grief. And like you had said earlier, like we needed some real personality for this killer. He just seemed like a clown. Like Art the Clown's got more fucking personality than this guy.
Oh hell
has.
yeah! Oh hell yeah!
I'll admit that now. But to actually start calling him a pussy and a wimp and all this kind of just belittling him.
But it seems to have no effect on him at all.
Well, it has a little bit of effect because he stops.
He does, yeah.
And then he turns around and he tries to come back for Arkin. And so they're managing to escape. A cop turns up. One lone cop turns up
Right.
and sees the boyfriend's body in the room with all the bear traps.
And he's like, oh, it must be Tuesday. Because he doesn't call back up, he doesn't radio in or anything. He's just like, oh,
takes his gun out and starts moving around the house, and he sees the collector.
he's pretending to be a tree. He just steps out from behind the tree like, la 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 la.
Yeah.
So I'll drop my dagger, I'll freeze, I'll play along.
And then the collector's dog comes out of nowhere
Right.
and rips the cop's throat out, and so the cop's dead.
Yeah.
So then the collector decides that he's done fucking around with traps and all that. He's just going to take the shotgun from the cop car, and he's going to kill Arkin and quite possibly the little girl at the same time. I'm not entirely sure. He's just walking around the house with a shotgun at this point.
Don't forget, there was another moment where Arkin and Hannah are kind of trapped in Hannah's room, and the collector knows they're in there. And so Arkin prepares a trap, and he's got the fish tank,
The fish
and
tank.
she's got the television, and Arkin's just like, right, when the door opens, fish tank over, TV down, and we electrocute him.
Yeah.
And so the door opens, and the collector throws in Larry.
He throws Larry.
And Larry gets electrocuted. I'm like, oh, poor Larry.
Yeah, no, it's another thing. I remember they showed the montage of Larry's dead body as well.
Yeah. Now, I know the film, you might have to suspend your disbelief here and there, but there
Suspend! Suspend!
I put it in deep space hibernation. Right. I spotted a goof.
Okay, well, along with the plot hole.
Along with the plot hole,
What was
I'm
the
beginning to feel this film isn't very well made. But I like it. Now, Larry, we saw earlier when he was in the box,
Yeah.
his feet were chained up and he had nails through them, and
Yeah.
it looked like he wasn't getting out of there. And when
Yeah.
we see his body being moved afterwards, I mean, his body's dried,
Yeah.
the floor is dried, and his feet have miraculously healed. I was like, what was in that fish tank? Maybe he's not dead.
I love that bit because he's just like, we're going to set this trap. I'm like, you're going to... This girl was already traumatized. The fuck. We might as well just fully traumatize her even more.
But here's the next thing. I mean, this film's not yet done with killing animals.
Oh, God,
So
yeah.
I thought this was a pretty nifty moment where, the dog knows exactly where they are, goes all the way up into the house, all the way up into our room, and when it bursts in the door, Arkin was prepared with a bucket and a flame, manages to trap the dog's head in it,
Sticks
then
on his
throws it at the collector, who blasted away with a shotgun as the dog sprays all over the screen.
Do you know that I felt that was a callback to People Under the Stairs?
Cool, yeah.
How the dog was used in the film to
Yeah.
chase the people around, and then obviously he ends up getting killed by a shotgun blast by the owner.
Yeah.
Or stabbed, bayoneted actually, and it was better in the People Under the Stairs. Like, I don't understand what the collector's relationship was with this dog. Like, has he been torturing this dog to just attack people? When they get...
because I liked, because when Arkin turns up at the house and he's jump scared by the dog, and I was like, well, I don't remember the dog being there with the family earlier. I guess I must have missed that. So
Yeah.
we immediately assume it's the family's dog.
Yeah.
Yet when we see the collector whistle after it's just killed the police officer, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, and I like the fact that the collector has a guard dog outside the premises just to keep an eye on things out there.
It's not a very good one, because the Arkin got in.
Well, maybe then the collector knew because of the dog incident that he was in the house all along. Even though I think that he didn't, he may have done.
At the same time, the oldest daughter got in with her boyfriend. The dog was shit.
Yeah.
So, at this point, Arkin has realised that the collector is planning on blowing up the house. I don't know if this is what the collector does when he's finished with people's houses to avoid any evidence of him doing it.
Makes sense, yeah.
Or if he decided that this was what he was going to do because his plan had been kind of foiled by Arkin. But Arkin and the little girl, they end up racing up and getting out of the house. They steal the keys, don't they? And then they realise that the key's broken off in the lock.
Yeah.
But they still manage to break out the house, and they're just running down the driveway. We're seeing that the cops and ambulances are coming as well, because I'm assuming that the cops back up have gone, oh, he's not called in for 10 seconds, so he must be in trouble.
But Arkin runs right into the middle of the road and
Oh,
just gets
God,
taken
it was
out.
so stupid. Like, he turns to the little girl and he's like, you wait here. I'm going to go flag them down. If he'd taken the little girl to the side of the road with him, they would have stopped sooner. But he just walks in the middle of the road and just gets nailed by the car. And it kind of coolly sets up that the collector is going to capture Hannah, the little girl, and you're watching, and Arkin can't stop her, can't rescue her. But then there's like a cut, and you realise that actually the cops had picked her up.
He was just, concussed and out of it, so he was just thinking the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But now we know it's all over, right? He's safe, he's in the ambulance, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, every horror movie ends on a happy ending. Everybody gets away. The little girl's obviously telling the cops that Arkin wasn't the killer. Arkin's like, hey, paramedic man, what time is it? Just before midnight. I made it. I'm like, no! Nobody knows this! Like, we've just seen your daughter and your wife, ex-wife, girlfriend, whatever, looking kind of scared there because they're like, where is he? Like, he should be here. Like, has he still got the stone in his pocket?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And then as they're driving along, the ambulance gets smashed by something, goes tumbling over. I did like the fact that Josh Stewart strapped in as it's rolling.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, they did that well.
I thought that was a cool effect. The paramedic gets thrown against the wall.
He gets daggered in the eye.
Yeah, because the collector opens up the back door, throws a throwing knife at the guy, kills him on the floor, undoes Arkin's straps, takes him,
puts him in the box,
whips
off the sticker on the side of the van, the exterminators, and off he goes.
And drives off. And then you get that establishing shot of the city, which I was like, what's the point of us looking at the city?
That's where the second one's going to take place. Also, there's an after-credit sequence.
Oh, was there? Because I turned it off.
I thought you might have done.
I turned it off. What was the after-credit sequence? Let me guess. The cat survived. What great after-credit.
You didn't want to miss this. Yeah.
Really?
It literally saves the movie.
Does it?
No. The collector's just sat watching TV, and Arkin's still in the box, screaming, I'm going to kill you! And that's it. It's like 10 seconds.
So Arkin doesn't save his wife from the loan sharks.
No,
and
but spoilers, they're going to be okay in the second one, like there wasn't even a loan shark. Plot hole, maybe? It was a little one. Ian, did you have any favourite scenes from the collector?
I had 3.
Oh.
Okay, I had 3.
That's 3 more than I was expecting.
I had 3 sequences in this movie that I went, okay, I have to write that down or I've got nothing. Okay? And 2 of them I actually had to go back and read.
I was going to say 2 of them were the same one. I know.
The first one was that overhead shot where Arkin was in the cupboard and the collector was outside. I thought that on a technical level was really well done. It really gave the idea that Arkin was in danger. He was trying to be stealthy. At that point, I thought the collector knew what he was doing and where he was going around the house. He doesn't. But that shot kind of was like, oh, that's cool. We've seen that a few times in other films. It's been really well done. And so I kind of like that shot. The second sequence was the one with the cat. Yeah. I thought that was absolutely stupid. How lemon curd on the floor can be so sticky and melt your shoes, I don't know. And then as you're watching, because you really do feel for the cat,
it's giving one hell of a performance.
Yeah, you hear the audio, but every now and again you cut to the cat. You don't see it. I don't know if it was a practical effect of a cat.
I think so. Yeah. Because it was real close up. So yeah.
Yeah, but it did generally kind of did look real at some point. And then obviously when it gets guillotined by the window, I was just like, that was absolutely stupid. Arkin might as well have just left it to die. Because
at least it was quick this way.
Yeah, it was already lost most of its skin or whatever. And then the third favorite scene was the boyfriend falling on the bear traps. I like a film establishing something and then it paying off. I also like the film establishing a plot and it paying off that this movie didn't have. So that's all I've got.
Yeah, I got a few favourite scenes from the film as well.
You're not having mine. Get your own.
Okay.
So that's half this fucking favourite scenes.
Well, I'll go with the eldest daughter getting nailed to the wall, making her own home movie, I suppose.
Because her boyfriend wasn't nailing her. Whoa!
I really like this moment for Arkin, and it's when he does escape the house and he hears Hannah banging on the window. He turns around and he's like, I can go. I'm out.
Yeah.
And he's like, God damn it, I cannot leave a little girl in there with that lunatic, that
Yeah,
monster. So
that monster.
him going back in, I was like, it went against his character.
Yeah.
So I liked it because we know he's a criminal. We attach all those stigmas to him. So we make all those.
Well, we don't know he's a criminal. We know he's a cat burglar, and we know he went to jail.
Yeah.
I
mean, we make those snap judgments on him based on that. And the fact that we saw him sort of canvassing the house earlier, we're like, he's a bit morally ambiguous. So is the fact that he did the hero thing went against type. Again, the whole fingers leaving it. Like, so I thought it was a great moment in the film. Another great shot that I really liked is the razor wire in the kitchen. And there's a lightning flash, and you see all the wire, then the light's gone, and you can't see it again. And so I thought it was a great little shot, and it only nicks his cheek, so it could have been, I was expecting a cube scenario.
Yeah, and we didn't get it.
No.
We literally get a little nick. I mean, Hannah dodges underneath it, and the collector looks in the room and goes, "Oh, I can't go in there because I set up a trap, and now I've trapped myself. I have to go round."
Yeah.
It was well established at that point.
Yeah.
Wasted though. It was absolutely wasted.
The ear pin, that was wincing. Didn't like that.
Yeah, get mobile phone, motherfucker.
The cat and the dog deaths, like brutal, not favourite, but memorable, because when it happens, you choke a little bit, you know? The bear trap death was great. Like, when are you going to see that many bear traps go off at once in one movie? Iain, do you recommend The Collector?
No, I do not recommend The Collector. And I know what a lot of you were going to say. Oh, Iain, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I have seen enough horror movies in my time to know what is good and what is bad. And take into account that I have listened to my friend here mention not only a plot hole, but a goof in this movie. Just kind of is the creme de la creme that this movie... It probably looked really good on paper. And they probably wanted to start their own franchise like they were doing while working in the Saw franchise. But then when the people behind Saw said, no, you can't use anything. I mean, they did the same thing with Chris Rock. Like, is The Collector better than Spiral? Yeah, which is really horrible to say. But I didn't feel scared for any of the characters. I felt bored at some point. I felt certain sequences were absolutely farcical, unbelievable, and then on top of that, completely wasted. Arkin's character didn't need to be as overwritten as he was. You could have established a lot of the payoff points really simply. He could have sat in his van and rang his daughter, and you could have just heard her voice over the phone and established the same thing that he needed to do with Hannah later on. You didn't need that whole bowling alley thing or the loan sharks. I get the fact he was a burglar and he was after this stone. He could have just been threatened by the gang boss about breaking his kneecaps. That's irrelevant. The movie is called The Collector. We are supposed to be following The Collector. And the most I follow him around this film is watching him jump up and down the stairs while he dodges his own fucking traps. I have no intention of watching the second one, but I'm sure it's going to turn up on my list at some point, and I hope that it is as awesome as this one. Gary?
Well, yeah. I'm going to be recommending The Collector.
You big house.
I think this one is worth a watch for horror fans. I think the film has a good pace, establishing the characters well and early on before the carnage ensues. And the plot, it's a simple escape or survive scenario in a dangerous cat and mouse chase in a trap-filled house. It's a simple premise, mostly taking place in one location, with mounting tension and suspense as the death traps become more lethal and the gore really starts to flow and it doesn't let go right to the end credits. I found myself invested in the character of Arkin and thought he was played really rather well by Josh Stewart, who I think remains as underrated as the collection films. Josh gave a certain sense of vulnerability yet determination to his role, with escalating desperation, and I appreciated this flawed, morally questionable character and rooted for him to escape. He was resourceful, smart, and, one of my favourite final mans in a horror movie. The gore effects were great, not too overdone, not too cheap looking, with some of the more gruesome kills really amping up that adrenaline as the film went on. The sound design I thought was pretty great, and the effects throughout. However, the soundtrack left much to be desired. Felt like noise for the most part. The cinematography was pretty good though. I really liked the colour and the tones. Each room had a different vibe and feel to it, and I liked some of the handheld camera work, and I thought that some of the stylistic choices were pretty good. I think overall it is an okay movie. It's entertaining. I found it a fairly engrossing experience. I liked the mystery of the collector and the premise and the performances. So yeah, this one is at least worth a watch. Some suspension of disbelief required. He always takes one. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.